industrial complex, because every single penny of the 3.8 billion that they nominally get, now they're getting way more than that, but that Israel nominally gets goes to U.S. military contractors. Now that didn't make me warm and fuzzy, okay, but that is their argument. And if you notice what they advocate for, I think sometimes they advocate for things that even Israelis wouldn't advocate for.
Well, I believe that. The last time you were on this show was almost exactly 2 years
live,
ago.
baby.
It was a little later in May, I think. You had just won your primary, 75%.
Yes.
In the middle of that conversation, you said, yeah, there's this group called AIPAC, and here's how they go about corralling support in the Congress. And they have minders that follow you around, and I just don't hate Israel. I don't support foreign aid to anybody, and I don't have an AIPAC minder. And I remember thinking, boy, I've never heard anybody explain how this works in the way that you did. I felt like that conversation was a pivot point. They've called you a bigot, and they call you an anti-Semite, and say you're a hater and try to destroy your character. That seems like a very different level of response to me.
Right. There's no need to do that. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't have an anti-Semitic hair in my head, okay? I mean, I don't like AIPAC anymore. Like, I used to be neutral toward AIPAC, right? But I have no antagonistic feelings toward Jewish people. I am the last thing. I think I'm probably the least xenophobic person in Congress. I mean, these are the guys. My colleagues want to sanction.
The last time you were on this show was almost exactly 2 years ago. It was a little later in May, I think. You had just won your primary, 75%.
Yes.
In the middle of that conversation, you said, yeah, there's this group called AIPAC, and here's how they go about corralling support in the Congress. And they have minders that follow you around, and I just don't hate Israel. I don't support foreign aid to anybody, and I don't have an AIPAC minder. And I remember thinking, boy, I've never heard anybody explain how this works in the way that you did. I felt like that conversation was a pivot point. They
one person here.
called
Welcome
you
in.
a bigot.
Hope you have a good night.
You an anti-Semite.
Let's
and
learn.
say you're a hater and try to destroy your character. That seems like a very different level of response to me.
Right. There's no need to do that.
Hey, 12 people in here. God bless you guys. Hope you guys are having a good night.
Anti-Semitic hair in my head, okay? I mean, I don't like AIPAC.
Vote Thomas
anymore.
Massey. He's amazing.
Like, I used to be neutral toward AIPAC, right? But I have no.
Oh, 18 of you guys. Hey, I got one obsidian flame. Let's see if I can get anything.
No. The last thing, I think I'm probably the least xenophobic person in Congress. I mean,
Give you a
these are
code
the
card.
guys,
You guys can have a code card.
My colleagues
You
want to
remember that?
sanction
Nope, you guys can't
everybody.
remember that. Let's go.
You know, declare them terrorist states. You know, come up with these strong.
Come on, why you guys are here? There's a fucking double tap on the screen. Come on, guys. Nothing.
Unless somebody does harm to
Fucking
me,
nothing.
I'm not going to call them anything. So I get called names just for staying out of all of this political posturing.
That's disgusting, though, isn't it?
Can call names about who? A bunch of freaks?
Your character. They can disagree with your views, but to call you like the worst thing you can be in America, like.
Welcome in, guys. Hope you guys are having a good night.
You know, I have a thick skin.
Yeah, apparently.
And here's
Vote
the good
Thomas
news.
Massey.
My constituents aren't falling for it. You know, 2 weeks ago, I just had a primary and got 76% of the vote, with AIPAC running hundreds of thousands of dollars of ads. So it's not working against me. I think it's short-sighted on their side to do this. They're just burning money, but they're trying to make an example of me.
But they're also exposing.
Oh no, what's going on with these light flashes?
I think
don't like that at all.
I think they've exposed a real weakness here. And, you know, it used to be just me voting against some of these resolutions, but recently when they tried to ban passages in the New Testament, I think we got like almost 24 Republicans.
Hey, welcome in, guys. Hope you guys are having a good night.
Wait, can I ask a question, though? There's a fundamental question.
Wish all you guys health and happiness. Get in here, subscribe, guys.
Violating something called FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, 1936-ish. It's been on the books for 90 years. And it's never been enforced, ever, until recently, until really...
Hey, thanks for that thumbs up. Love you. Whoever it was, I freaking love you. I hope you... wish you nothing but health and happiness. Love you guys. Get in here.
To register. It's that simple. And this is the largest lobby in the most effective lobby in the United States on behalf of a foreign government. Are they registered with FARA?
They are not, but they should be.
Well,
how
can that be? How can they put Paul Manafort in jail, which they did, on a FARA violation, and a bunch of other people in jail on FARA violations, but the largest and most effective and most feared foreign lobby working for a foreign government doesn't have to register under the law? That's insane.
Oh,
That is
man,
fucking
don't
insane. What
make
the
me
fuck?
take their side, but I'll explain as best as I can what they're arguing.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
No.
we should take their side. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to agree with you in a second, but let me at least offer what I think is their argument. They would say
This nerd
we
for
are
president.
Americans.
I love him.
You know, the members of AIPAC are Americans, and that they have the right to free speech.
Paul Manafort's an American.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
So there's the good rebuttal as FARA applies not to foreigners, to foreign agents,
Right,
of foreign principles, agents of foreign principles.
It's Americans.
Hey, thanks for that thumbs up,
lobbying on
guys.
behalf of foreign government.
God bless everybody
So
in here. I hope you guys are having a great
exactly
night.
what FARA is meant for. Now they would
I wish
say,
health and happiness
we
for
have
all
a
you guys.
First
Oh,
Amendment
25
right.
guys.
Okay,
I got one Scarlet Violet base that I haven't
agree
opened
with
that
you
in a
there, but we
fucking
also have
year.
election
So let's go ahead and open that.
And to
I'll write up on
it's
it, 10.
disclosure, right? They're not FARA
Here.
doesn't say you
I don't know
can't
who's gonna remember that.
change
Nobody.
Thomas
Get here,
Massey,
guys.
You know, an
Hit that like.
hillbilly.
Deserves at
You're
least a
allowed
like.
to
Come on,
say
guys.
that if you want to, but we just want to
Scarlet
check where your
Violet
money's
base
coming
said
from. Tell us where it's coming from, what you're spending it
nothing.
on,
Ow.
and if you're
It's all good. We
lobbying
keep
on
going.
behalf
Damn
of
it.
a foreign
I dropped
country. So they should be, now to your point, they should be registered with FARA. This is what FARA is where there's gray area.
Hey, God bless everybody in here. Hope you guys are having a great night.
Foreign country. Let's look and see.
Wish you
if you're
guys all
getting
health and
money from
happiness.
that foreign country.
Let's
you
go.
a dual
Happy Sunday
citizen
night.
with that foreign country. Are you being directed by, for instance, is Netanyahu speaking to your group, advising you on your next move?
Yeah, is he?
Are you getting money from the military-industrial complex?
Yeah, are you?
Like, because to understand AIPAC, I think it's easiest to model them as a military-industrial lobby. Like, their biggest thing is they want more equipment, more military equipment from the United States going to Israel. In fact, when they used to be allowed in my office, the argument they would make is, oh, we're just stimulating the U.S. military-industrial complex because every single penny of the 3.8 billion.
Oh shit! Somebody out here Snapchatting me, dog.
But that Israel nominally gets goes to U.S. military contractors. Now that didn't make me warm and fuzzy, okay? But that is their argument. And if you notice what they advocate for, I think sometimes they advocate for things that even Israelis wouldn't advocate for.
Oh, I believe that.
Like they would, I think, be okay with a war with Iran, like an all-out, apocalyptic war with Iran. Whereas there are people in Israel say,
"Bro, I'm not alright with that. Gas prices are fucking off the charts."
No. Have a war with Iran, but AIPAC does things that lead us in that direction. And so,
hey, what up, Rem? Hello. Welcome
NRA
in. God bless. Hope you're having a good night.
AIPAC is to Israel, or what the Farm Bureau is to farmers. AIPAC is to Israel. In other words,
represents a faction.
Right, they represent a faction, but usually a corporate faction. That and they're using the imprimatur of grassroots that they've diluted or confused into bullying congressmen. And the NRA does that, and Farm Bureau does that. I'm picking on some other right-wing groups here.
Well, for sure. And by the way, I think there are probably a lot of things that AIPAC is for that I'm for, and Farm Bureau, NRA, same thing.
Right.
The idea of a foreign government playing in our political campaigns openly.
Openly in that they're showing you they're doing it, but opaquely in that you can't track it because they're not registered.
Is there any other Republican who has your views on this?
Well, I have Republicans who come to me on the floor and say, I wish I could vote with you today. Yours is the right vote, but I would just take too much flack back home. And I have Republicans
well, then
who come
fuck
to
you.
me
You're no
and
good,
say,
man.
That's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person.
Fuck your AIPAC person. What the fuck?
Everybody
Are
but
you
me
fucking
has an
retarded?
AIPAC person.
What's that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like
a
your
fucking handler.
Your AIPAC babysitter who is always talking
a
to
handler
you for AIPAC. They're probably a
in
constituent your
crazy.
district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
Except for him.
I don't know how it works on the Democrat
Thomas
side.
Massey. Vote Thomas Massey.
But that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them.
Yeah.
And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
you are bought and paid for like a bitch.
Crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, "I'll talk to my AIPAC person," and it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
it doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
Have you seen any other country do anything like this? Like
No.
Russia obviously determines the outcome of our elections. We keep hearing that. Does anyone have a Putin guy that they talk to?
Not only do they not have a Putin guy, look, they don't
Putin
have.
guy. Can you imagine having a fucking Putin guy answering to Russia? That'd be fucking insane. I'm pausing the video because I have no idea if this is gonna be copyrighted or not, or I have no idea what I'm doing here. So why not pause it and continue? What up, Buster Pack? Welcome in.
A Britain guy. They don't have an Australian guy. They don't have a Germany dude. Like, it's the only country that does this, that has somebody that, like, uniformly, I guarantee there's some spreadsheet at AIPAC where where the AIPAC dude is who's matched up with the congressman is there, and then all the congressman's votes on the issue. Oh, has the congressman been to Israel? They pay for trips for congressmen and their spouses to go to Israel.
Yeah, they do.
I'm not the only Republican who hasn't taken the AIPAC trip to Israel.
God bless you, bro.
But I'm probably one of a dozen.
God bless you, Thomas Massey. Vote Thomas Massey.
What's the trip like, you know?
Don't be retarded.
It's
Vote
kind of
Massey.
like,
That's my message.
vacationy. You go see the wall. You go see the sites, things like that.
It's such a great. I must say, it's such a great country. Jerusalem, especially. It's
Thanks.
Wonderful place that's got to have a big effect.
You go like swim in the Dead Sea.
Yeah,
I've done that.
Watch hours. Not on an AIPAC trip, but
right.
I would recommend it to anyone.
Are you sure it wasn't an AIPAC trip?
It was. I paid for it myself. No, I mean it's just funny. I mean, I am a legit lover of Israel, of the place Israel.
Right.
I like the people, and I love the food, and like the whole thing is so great.
What the fuck do you like about that place?
But that's
what the
distinct from the
fuck?
government of Israel. It's just a foreign government.
My sense is the people are very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
That
Totally.
They're publicly minded. They care about their country. That they're generally good people, right?
That's certainly been my experience in trips there, for sure. It's great. It's just I think it's probably one of my favorite, maybe my all-time favorite place to go with my family. But that's just a completely different thing from taking orders from its government.
Right.
I mean, right?
Now, they'll say these are American citizens who are, coordinating all.
It's just, again, this is almost a rhetorical question, but in your 14 years in Congress, 12 years, have you ever seen any indication that Russia is influencing election outcomes or candidates or members?
Not in a quiet way, like statements. Russia obviously has Russia Today, RT.
Yeah, I think it's been banned, but
yeah. I like Kentucky Fried Chicken, of which I'm a big fan, being from Kentucky, right? They realized that fried became sort of a pejorative, and they want to eat fried food, so they changed the name to KFC. So you don't have to say fried.
That was a little better.
Russia Today changed.
Hey, welcome in. Hit that fucking like. Get in here, guys.
But there's a strong analogy there. But I mean, there are efforts. You'd be a fool to think that they're not trying to influence things here, just like we are there. We have Radio Free Europe and Voice of America.
Yes.
We have. I mean, we spend $1 billion, well over $1 billion, on the foreign propaganda that's out in the open that we know about, right?
I agree.
So there are foreigners spending money on propaganda over here as well. I don't want to say they're not involved, but people don't say, "Oh, I need to go talk to my Russia guy."
But you've never, like, in the courtroom or on the floor or at dinner, you've never heard another Republican member say, "I'd love to vote for this, but Putin doesn't want me to."
I have never heard that.
You haven't? Okay. What about China?
No, unless it's a spy sleeping with a Democrat, I'm sure there's some of that going on.
Yeah, but that's not in public.
Thomas Massey, I fucking love you, bro.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way,
fucking Daily Wire falling apart. That little fucking Bennifer.
Pushing you to the point of almost losing, and you may lose. Where'd that money come from?
Well,
y'all gotta pay attention. This is very important.
Regular people. It's come from billionaires, and 95% of it, at least 95%, has come from the Israeli lobby. So I'll give you their proxies. The RJC, which is the Republican Jewish Coalition, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs
Tucker got a
Committee.
crazy laugh.
Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson went
The
together.
most fucking
They
horrible
funded
people
a
ever.
PAC called MAGA Kentucky, which is neither MAGA nor Kentucky.
Yeah, neither of them.
When you add any of them live, who are those three people?
They have been, Miriam Adelson is the gambling magnate who's
Right.
ironically makes money from the Chinese now gambling and not in Las Vegas.
And
so
she's
much.
literally an Israeli.
Yeah, she was born there.
Yeah.
She's given over $200 million to the president. He puts her on the stage. He says that she's influenced his own policy and attitudes toward Israel. And so she's trying to buy a congressional seat in Kentucky, along with the rest of these groups that are probably, by the way, getting her money as well. And there's also another interesting faction called Christians United for Israel. They're
That's
really just
wild.
Another wing of
They hate
AIPAC and
Christians. What the
RJC
fuck?
That's been used to co-opt Christians into supporting their position. And their position is more
My
war,
light is out.
it's more strife, it's more bombs, it's send more foreign aid, and those are the things that I've been voting against. So the real reason that this race is a serious race and I may lose is because a foreign lobby has fully funded to the extent that they've never done in any Republican race ever before my opponent.
It's interesting because I don't think of you as
Not
an
really,
opponent
bro.
of Israel or a hater of Jews, an anti-Semite, a man with hate in his heart, or anything. I don't think those topics have defined
not
your
my mom, bro.
terms
What
in
the fuck?
Congress so far, have they?
No, you can't go find even a xenophobic tweet or Facebook post from me in my entire life. I'm the least xenophobic. I went to MIT, which is a real melting pot.
Greater
of
than
different
/3. I have
nationalities
no idea what that
and
means.
races and ethnicities. And it was a meritocracy. And that's what I'm used to is
Yes.
just, come to me with your ideas. I don't care what color your skin is or who your parents were. And let's talk about things. But it turns out that I've never voted for foreign aid. And in fact, I
Sure.
offered for Israel, for
Okay.
Egypt, for Ukraine,
For anybody.
for anybody. In fact, I've offered amendments as soon as I got to Congress in 2013. I had an amendment to defund the foreign aid to Egypt, which seemed like a good idea at the time because they were in the middle of a coup. This is how ridiculous our foreign aid is. We didn't even know who was going to control the capital. There were tanks in the streets. We didn't know who the leader was. And my colleagues insisted on sending the billions of dollars to Egypt anyway. The question is, who's going to cash the check when it gets there? So I've got a complete track record of voting against all foreign aid. But it turns out there's one lobby that's very upset about that, and that's the Israeli lobby. And so you're right, this is a referendum. It's a referendum. The question we're putting to the people is, are you going to let a foreign country or lobbyists for that foreign country buy a seat in Kentucky and displace the one congressman who will tell you what's in the bills, who will explain his votes? I explain all of my votes, especially on controversial bills, on social media to where anybody can see.
So your position is that it's not your position as much as it's the fact you're willing to disclose what's actually happening behind the scenes.
Correct.
So to add evidence to that claim, the last time you were on this show was almost exactly 2 years ago. It was a little later in May, I think. You had just won your primary, 75%.
Yes.
And so you decided to come up here, and we have this amazing conversation, and mostly about you and your life and the self-sufficiency with which you live and how you built your house. And it's an amazing story. We're going to repost that video soon because I want people to see it before the primary. But in the middle of that conversation, you said, yeah, there's this group called AIPAC, and here's how they go about corralling support in the Congress. And they have minders that follow you around, and I just don't hate Israel. I don't support foreign aid to anybody, and I don't have an AIPAC minder. And I
talking about
remember
Mr.
thinking,
Burns?
boy, I've never heard anybody explain how this works in the way that you did. I felt like that conversation was a pivot point in your political life.
It was, and you know what's interesting,
For what?
in the 2 years that have transpired since then, not one of my colleagues has said I'm wrong, right? Did anybody come out and say,
What'd she get caught up
he's
with?
full of it? I don't have an AIPAC person that I go to dinner with every time they come to DC and back in the district. Nobody said that. They all have an AIPAC person. Now, some of them may not, know it's their AIPAC person, but they've all got an AIPAC person. And by the way, I have a lot of Jewish friends, and since that interview, they joke that they're secretly my AIPAC person.
Oh, that sucks, bro.
When in fact they're not.
But it wasn't just that you voted against AIPAC's priorities, or some of them anyway, which you did, because there are people who have done that before, but you described and you opened to public view the process. You
Go
pulled
get
the
her if
curtain
you got
back.
money.
Correct.
And that was the crime.
Right. The crime is transparency. It's not obstructionism. Because the votes they're most upset about me for were 420 to 1, or 421 to 1, or 410 to 5, right? Like, show me in any of those cases where my single vote out of, 435, if everybody had been present, was obstructionist. It wasn't. What happened?
Where's
though,
Lynn County
is
at? How
that
far
who's
is that?
the one person that voted against that? And then they go to my social media, and then they read the bill, and then they're like, what the hell? Why did my congressman vote for that? What are the other 420 smoking, right? And so, or what are they getting for that vote? Why did they take that vote? Why were they intimidated into taking that vote? And that's the problem that I'm causing this foreign lobby, is I'm causing people to ask questions for the first time. Who is my congressman's AIPAC person, for instance? How much money do they get from AIPAC?
Fuck all that. I don't know.
Why did they vote for that bill that
I don't know, just
bans
wondering.
passages in the New Testament?
Maybe the courts won't hear to bite
that
each other. I don't
infringement
fucking
on
know.
the First Amendment.
And we care about supporting companies whose values align with ours. We do not want to shill for sleazy companies.
Tucker,
It's better to do business
promote
with
your
like-minded Americans than people hate us.
shit.
That's our rule.
Let's go ahead and fast forward this
That's
so
one
I
of
don't
the
get a
reasons we like
copyright
Charity
or
Mobile.
something. I don't know how
When
that
you make
works.
the switch to Charity Mobile, the company sends 5%
Skip through your stupid ass ad, bro.
great company
Fuck
and a
you,
good cause at
Tucker.
the same
I love
time.
you.
Promo code Tucker to get a free phone
Weird
with
ass
free
fucking
activation,
laugh,
free
bro.
shipping, and a free gift with every new line of service. Visit CharityMobile.com/Tucker.
That was a bunch of free shit he said.
Because you revealed that, you got this swarm of big donors laying down
why
big
would what
money
matter if she's
to
in
get you
custody?
out of your
I don't get it.
seat. And you said basically it revolves around 3: Paulson, Singer, and Adelson. Have they described why they're doing this? Why would a casino magnate or a
Hedge fund manager.
hedge fund manager, private equity guy, distressed debt buyer like Paul Singer, why would they care what happens in a Republican primary in Kentucky, of all places?
It's to silence me. It's so that I shut up. Look, if I lose on May 19th, I'll be out of Congress on January 3rd of next year. And nobody's going to follow my Twitter. Nobody's going to go to my Facebook page to see what's going on. I won't be invited down into the secret skiffs to read the secret interpretations of the laws that the executive branch is using to spy on you. I'll be gone. The one whistleblower, if you will, in Congress will be
I
gone.
have no idea, bro.
And let me tell you who's on the other side of this, who's funding me. I've got, and this is miraculous. I think, you called it a referendum. I think it may be a movement within the MAGA movement is what we're seeing, because I've got over 33,000 donors and the average donation is less than $94. These people, they don't have a lot of money to give, but they can't be intimidated, right? By the White House. They can't have their
Sure, that's very
environmental
lucky.
permits pulled on a big
I
data
did not do
center.
shit in person when I was locked up.
The government of Washington, D.C. doesn't have that kind of leverage on individual normal people. So those are the people who are funding me in this race. And if you want to be one of them, you can go to MassyMoneyBomb.com.
MassyMoneyBomb.com.
Yeah, because we've raised almost $200,000 in the last 2 days just by going out there and saying, help me fight back. We've got to have some ads to run against these billionaires.
So what do you think the full money breakdown is? And without getting boring about it, I don't think people understand exactly how these campaigns are funded. So you can send money to someone running for office, but there are limits to how much you can send. You can send to something called a super PAC, and there are no limits at all. So it's hard to kind of figure out, isn't it? Exactly how much you can spend.
Yeah, I think it'll be after the race when people finally are able to compile the spreadsheets and look at the money. A lot of the donors won't be disclosed until July. the super PAC donors because they're on a 6-month reporting cycle, whereas I have to disclose big donors every 2 days now once we get inside of a window with the campaign. But you got super PACs on each side. And there's a super PAC helping me, not as large as the Israeli super PACs, of which there are 3. But there's a super PAC helping me. Now, as far as hard dollar campaign money from real people,
Hey, one more
I've
person here.
raised
God
over
bless.
$5
Let's
million
learn.
this election cycle.
Vote Thomas
which is
Massey.
Probably more than I've
Vote this
raised
nerd. I
the
love him.
entire time that I've been in Congress.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I usually raise a couple $100,000, maybe $400,000 in election cycle. This time I've raised over $5 million.
Damn.
It's because this situation is dire. Now the other side, you might say, okay, well, how much money has he raised for his campaign? He's raised about 1 or 1.2 million per quarter for 2 quarters. So he's maybe raised $2.5 million
I don't
at
want to go
most.
see that.
But if you go look at where did that money come
I don't want to go see no comedy shows, to be
I
honest with
think
you.
because of the show I did with you 2 years ago, AIPAC's sort of gone in hiding, and they're trying to secretly funnel money to
It got to be
campaigns.
somebody special.
And what we've realized
Like Mark
and
Norman or
deduced
something.
is that they're funneling money, hard dollars, not the
Nah, I don't even know if I
dollars,
go see
but
him.
they're
I don't know.
funneling money
Fucking
from
lazy.
their donors to his campaign through a vendor, a payment vendor called Democracy.
Bro is killing
who
on that
started by
roadie
one of
today,
the
bro.
people who started Act Blue. It's not a conservative,
fire
if you
today,
would.
dog.
Act Blue, the Democratic bundler.
Sunday be
So
popping.
this is primarily a left-leaning payment vendor. I use a payment vendor called Anodot, and some people use
Who the
WinRed.
fuck is
Probably not
Derek?
familiar with that. So when you see something come through a payment vendor called Democracy Engine,
Derek Syrup. What the fuck? I have no idea what that is.
particularly $50,000
Flag?
per
Derek Flag?
order. So if somebody's reported $50,000 of expenses to Democracy Engine, and if the payment vendor Democracy Engine has been charging 5%, that means $1 million of money came through that payment vendor. And we've seen that in both of his quarters. So basically, as far as we can tell, about $1 million of these 1.2 million every quarter that you would think may have come from grandmas who are digging deep in their pockets when they get an email from Trump that says give to this guy. That's not where his money's coming from.
That's
it's
not where it's
coming from
coming
AIPAC donors.
It's coming from fucking
And then
AIPAC.
AIPAC donors were using a Democratic fundraising.
He's been saying this
to
for
get
fucking
money
years.
to your opponent.
Correct. And by the way, one of these super PACs that's aligned against me, United Democracy Project, UDP, they are a pro-abortion, pro-gay rights, left, like not just left-leaning, like majorly leftist super PAC. And they are full on in my race, funding my opponent against me.
This is insane.
It is insane. I do think
I ain't never got to
it
do
might be a
live.
couple
Fuck
years
that.
from now when AI gets
That's
smart
gay.
enough
That means you're
and
gay.
honest enough in the competition of AIs that it will tell you exactly what happened.
Okay,
in
there's
this
one other
race.
person here. Hey,
Whether I
God
win or
bless,
lose, you
man.
can go back,
Welcome
look
in.
at the data,
Hope you're having a great night.
and tell you.
I wish you
here's
nothing
what
but health
happened.
and happiness.
Congressman
Get
from
in here and
Kentucky
subscribe.
was
Join my cult.
challenged, And
It's not a
95 or
cult, I'm just joking.
99% of the money came from an Israeli lobby to take him out for merely telling the truth.
And not even attacking Israel.
Hey, get into the conversation,
No,
whoever
you
else is
didn't
in
even
here. Come on,
attack
get in
Israel.
here.
You're
What's
not
your
even
name?
Hostile toward Israel. You're not muttering about the Jews. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's just you just don't think the U.S. government should be sending money to foreign countries, right? I mean,
Right. And by the way, that's the position of my constituents. So what kind of TV ads are they running against me back in Kentucky? Are they saying Congressman Massey doesn't vote to give money to foreign countries? You know, let's fire him. No, they don't run that ad.
No, they don't run that.
ads that distort my record. They'll
Completely
take a bill
fuck
that
him
had
up.
3,000 pages in it, pull a page out of that bill, and say he voted against this. You know, it could be a pay raise for the soldiers or something like that.
to try and turn you into a liberal.
Correct. That's what they want to.
Yeah, to try to be
Which is
fucking
hilarious.
By the way, if I could make
a
one
bunch of
reform
pussies,
to
dude, in Congress. Holy
So
fuck.
I voted for balanced budget amendment. I voted for term limits. But the biggest constraint, the most helpful thing for our republic would be if every bill had to address only a single issue.
Amen. Amen.
Because right now we take thousands of votes, but they're post offices and non-binding resolutions and things like that to make it look like we're busy all year round. But it usually boils down to 2 or 3 votes every year that are consequential, must-pass pieces of legislation that have everything in them. And that's the problem. Let me give you an example on the big, beautiful bill. By the way, there are maybe 3 or 4 sins, and I'll put that in air quotes, that I committed against the swamp that got me into this situation. And one of those is I was the only Republican who didn't vote for Mike Johnson to be the speaker. The second was...
You were the only Republican? Mike Johnson's turned out to be the worst Speaker of the House in the history of this country.
Goddamn right, I agree.
Bad ones.
Yes.
John Boehner,
no one
Paul Ryan.
compares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't vote for the speaker. There twice, at least twice, they brought up continuing resolution of Joe Biden's budget. And I'm like, wait, I thought we control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Why are we just going to keep going on autopilot with all the things Joe Biden did? Yet they did, and I voted against those things. And in fact, in one of those bills, they attached an amendment that had nothing to do with the budget to kill the hemp industry in Kentucky.
Because they're fucking idiots.
It's like,
they're fucking
hundreds of
retarded.
millions of dollars, thousands of jobs wiped out.
Don't give a
Continuing
fuck about the
resolution
common man.
Because everybody was afraid not
They don't
to
give a
vote
fuck
for
about
it.
us.
And I voted against it because number
I
one,
love
it was
you,
Joe
brother.
Biden's budget. Number
Say
two,
buddy
it
and brother.
killed the entire
Brother.
hemp industry in Kentucky. That was another of my crimes against the swamp. And when I voted against the big bill, they're using, and they're picking things out of it to run ads against me right now. Let me give you an example. So the draft version, the first version that passed the House of Representatives, defunded transgender surgery, sex changes, basically for minors. There was lots of good stuff and lots of bad stuff in that bill, but I voted against it because I said it'll bankrupt the country. Okay, but it had that good provision in it. The Senate took the good provision out that defunded sex changes for minors, and then everybody voted for the big beautiful bill again, except for me, but it had the money for sex change for minors. So because I voted no against both versions, they prefer to use the first version
That's
and
fucking
run ads and say that I
crazy.
voted not to defund sex changes for minors, when in fact, everybody who voted for that damn bill in the end put the money back in for sex changes for minors.
That's
Liars.
fucking
It's the total
insane.
who put out that ad saying that.
These super PACs, again, they're not talking, they're distorting my record instead of telling you why they're trying to flush me out of Congress. They want to flush me out of Congress because I don't vote for foreign aid.
Because you're a good
As a
man.
gun owner,
Because
you
you're
know
a good
the
man.
dilemma. You want to be prepared for
Tucker,
break-ins or
I'll have to
any
go ahead
moment where
and,
you might need a firearm, but you also need
Keep
to
this
keep those
with
firearms
yes.
secure.
Go.
Use the code Tucker for 10% off your whole order.
Use
After you
use the
purchase, feel free to
code
mention
Tuck Tuck
you've heard
Man.
about it right there on
Tuck
the show.
Tuck Man.
Well, it's just, I guess what I find head spinning, bewildering, and honestly infuriating is that a bunch of serious committed liberals are trying to kick you out of Congress on the basis of the lie that you are a liberal. Liberals are calling you a liberal.
Correct. These, if you look at
Chris LaCivita, who's a liberal, who's the president's consultant, is calling you a liberal, and he's too liberal for the district, says the guy whose values have no connection at all to your district.
Well, look at Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson, the 3 people that fund MAGA Kentucky. They funded transgender activism, partnered with George Soros. They funded abortion candidates. They've done fundraisers for Chuck Schumer. It's true, they are Republican super mega donors, right? But they've given money to Liz Cheney after she voted to impeach Trump. And now they've cozied up to Trump, and they're influencing foreign policy of the United States and trying to take me
They're
out.
controlling foreign policy to the United States. And I never got resolution to the big question. I'm sorry. What do you think the total your opponent has received both directly and on his behalf to the super PAC is?
I think all in, they've spent about $10 million, their super PACs and their campaign. All in, we've probably spent about $8 million so far. And I would guess all in, by the time this is over, there's going to be $30 million spent in a Republican primary. It's right now the most expensive Republican primary for Congress in the history of Kentucky. By the time it's done, right now I hear it's the second most expensive primary in the United States for Congress, but I believe by the time it's done, it'll be the most expensive primary in the United States.
That's just absolutely
I have no idea how
incredible
that
to
even
me.
fucking works.
The
I'm learning.
commercials
I'm
have commercial
learning.
breaks in Kentucky now. There's so many damn commercials.
So I just saw a spot they put up, and you tell me who did this, but it was AI generated video of you with Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, suggesting that you were having
Fucking
sex with
crazy.
both of them,
That's insane.
and basically saying you've got the same politics they do.
Yeah, it's a 30-second spot created with AI. There's a disclaimer at the beginning in font that nobody over the age of 65 could possibly see on the TV that says it's AI. And it's not cartoony at all. It looks like a real camera, recordings that shows me walking hand in hand with the two of them, dining with the two of them, and checking into a hotel with the two
I
of them.
can't be singing that
And
song on
uses
my
the
live,
word
bro.
throuple.
I might get some type of
I'm
copyright shit.
hoping it will backfire
Also, I'm
on
gonna sing on my live.
the just horrible individuals who've come up with this idea and think that it will get their rubber stamp, their puppet for Israel into Congress.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting. It's fucking
We
gross.
haven't even named
These are the people who
the
fucking
man
represent
running
us. What the
against you.
fuck, man?
Not that I guess it matters,
It
right?
doesn't really matter.
Who is this? Who is running against you?
What we've found out, he looks good on paper. He served in the Navy SEALs. He's a boomer, originally
Thanks,
from
bro.
Kentucky. And he looks great on paper, but the president says he's from Central Casting and that he's a warm body. And I don't think the president understands those are not like terms of endearment. And the most
It sounds like
interesting,
that's true, though.
here's the most interesting thing. Yeah, he is a warm body, and he may be able to fog a mirror, but he can't put 3 sentences together. His own commercials don't even have him talking to camera. He's turned down
Thomas
8
Massey
debates
represents
with me.
us. That guy.
In 2 of these debates,
That's
or
my guy.
televised debates, they went ahead and had the debate, and I went and debated the moderator.
I love this motherfucker.
Because I'm comfortable with
But
what
he's accepted no debates with you at all?
0 debates. And conventional wisdom is if you're the incumbent, and you're ahead, even by a small amount, that you should never debate the challenger. Because you're just giving him a platform and giving him some notoriety
gotta
and a
step out,
status
but I'll be
to
right back.
speak and a chance to take you out. I'm willing to debate this guy anywhere. I've said I'll let President Trump moderate the debate, and I'll still win it. Because this guy doesn't know what he believes in. He won't fill out any of the questionnaires from the pro-life groups, from the pro-Second Amendment groups. Those are sitting in his basement. He won't tell anybody where he stands. Is he for exceptions on abortion? Is he for red flag laws? Because those are the president's positions. So he's caught in a tough position right now. And he doesn't have an ideology, I don't think. In fact, he was in the Republican Party until 2016 when Donald Trump got the nomination for president. My opponent left the party for 5 years while Donald Trump was president. He wouldn't even call himself a Republican while Donald Trump was president. When Joe Biden won the election, that's when my opponent came back after Donald Trump lost and called himself a Republican again. So he's got a lot of questions to answer.
So they found a liberal guy who's taking money from liberal guys
Somebody here?
to be.
Let's see.
I know you
Hey,
call
welcome
yourself
in, one other
libertarian or
person.
whatever, but I mean, conventionally, you're one of the most conservative
Sorry,
American
face.
first candidates the Congress has had in my lifetime.
Good luck with
So,
that image, I guess.
Basically, you're running against a liberal.
Yes. And let me talk about the association.
Vote Thomas
of my
fucking
donors
Massey.
and his
That's my
donors
guy
with
right there.
Democrats. So they started saying, oh, Massey's taking money from people that also give to Democrats. So we went and we did a core sample. We looked at the people who give me money. And we looked at all the max donors. Turns out 37% of the people who've donated to me have also given to Democrats. We went and looked at his numbers. It's 85% of his donors have given to Democrats. And it's because it's a core sample of AIPAC donors.
Well, that's
And
fucking
that's
insane.
why you've got 85% overlap in his donors with Democrat donors, is because it's just a core sample of AIPAC. In fact, he's given to Lindsey Graham.
Actually?
Oh
Yes.
my God.
$100 or $1,000. Like he
Why?
was
Why
so
I hate
inspired
Lindsey
by
Graham.
Lindsey Graham that
I
he
hate
gave him
that
his own
motherfucker.
personal money, not from his campaign, before he was campaigning. And think about this. He's
Who the
promising
fuck is Bob Duggar? I have no
he's
idea
promising
what
to
the fuck
be
he's
a
talking
rubber
about.
stamp for the Republican Party. This is the main charge that's been leveled against me, that I don't vote with the party enough. I vote with the party 90% of the time. But listen, there's 10% of the time where I don't care who the president is, I'm not going to change the position that I promised to take to my constituents. So for instance, when the party votes for warrantless spying on Americans, I don't vote for that. When the party votes to
Warrantless spying on
On
Americans.
Americans.
yes, it's and by the way, in all of these circumstances that I'm going to describe to you, where I don't vote with the party, I'm actually taking a position that Donald Trump had less than 2 years ago. He was against the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act being used to
This is
spy
so
on
important.
Americans
Listen to this.
without a warrant, because it was
Spying
used
on
against
Americans.
him, he found out. So I'm sticking with that position that you need a warrant, that the Fourth Amendment hasn't expired to the Constitution, when they're covering up for pedophiles. Look, the president's own children, the vice president, the FBI director, and the president himself said that they would release the Epstein files. And now I worked harder than anybody else to get it done and got it done. And that's part
God
of the
bless you.
10% where they say, I have betrayed the Republican Party.
Because you voted to disclose Epstein's crimes.
Correct.
So it's now a core tenet of the Republican Party that you have to hide the crimes of a left-wing Democrat who was touching kids.
It seems to be. And
Fucking insane. Are you guys listening to this? This is fucking
and said
crazy.
It's a hostile act. This was before he signed my bill. He ultimately did agree with me, and now it seems like the First Lady agrees with me that Jeffrey Epstein did not act alone, and the files show that he did not act alone. And you've got a prince who's lost his title and been indicted. You've got the British Prime Minister to the United States.
People are being arrested all
You've
over
got
the world, but
former Prime Minister,
not in
Norway,
America,
the
nothing.
Minister of Culture in France. There's accountability. All these people have been arrested or indicted or being investigated,
Not in
but
America.
nobody in the United States.
Where Jeffrey Epstein lived and worked.
Yes,
Yeah.
he spent 99% of his time. Even the U.S. Virgin Islands is part of the United States, where Epstein Island is.
I just want to linger on this for.
I have no idea.
I just want to linger on the Epstein question. So,
Yeah, linger on that question, brother.
why was that important to you to push for disclosure?
So there's a claim that I didn't care about it before President Trump was president. I want to clear that up. You can go find on my social media at least 3 times where I posted about it. And I always assumed that Pam Bondi would release the files, right? People are like, well, why weren't you interested sooner? Why didn't you try harder sooner? Because I've heard the FBI director say he was going to do it. I heard the Attorney General say she was going to do it.
Yeah, they all said they was going to do it.
And then I found out the binders were a farce. I serve on the Judiciary Committee. This is the committee that Jim Jordan chairs, which, by the way, has authority over DOJ, the Attorney General, for instance, and FBI.
Hey, guess what, bro?
And so we went on a dinner to the DOJ,
222
to Pam Bondi's
subscribers.
office, every Republican member of the Judiciary Committee. This was in April of last year, about a year ago. And I told Jim Jordan on the way over, he said, everybody gets one question. You can ask the Attorney General a question. I said, I want to ask her about phase 2 of the Epstein files. Would that be too confrontational? And Jim said, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't ask. Go ahead. So I was one of the first people, as we finished dinner, to ask a question, and I asked Pam Bondi where the rest of the files were and when would they be released. And she said there was nothing left but child pornography, and nobody wants to see that.
Jesus,
it made it sound sort of like I was a voyeur or a pedophile myself.
But you were creepy for asking.
Yeah, that I was creepy for asking. And so I didn't ask any more about it. Then I saw in the news as things played out, the story kept shifting, and I said, well, there's some there. And I introduced my resolution, which is a discharge petition. I would need to get 218 votes on it to force a vote on whether to release the files or not. I did that in July. And we did a press conference. The reason I'm telling you all this is my motivation changed part of the way through this.
Can I just ask you something? If it was child pornography, did you get a sense that there was any effort to find out who these children were, who shot the videos, like who's responsible for this?
They said most of it was stuff he had downloaded from the internet, not original, crimes of his. but even so, right? Wouldn't that stuff be things that you would investigate, even if he hadn't created it? If he had got it from a friend or some black, black site on the internet, wouldn't you want to, the dark web? Wouldn't you want to go find out where this stuff comes from?
Did you get a sense that they were doing anything about any of it?
No. In fact, this was the final straw for me. A
Talking
day or
dirty.
two before I introduced the discharge petition, it was either the Attorney General or the FBI director said they were closing all the cases, they were done with Epstein, and there would be no more. And then, so what happened is after August recess, we came back, and Ro Khanna and I held a press conference with the survivors. And it was to motivate this issue in Washington, D.C., and to give these women a platform to tell their stories. And in fact, women who had never spoken up before came to this and spoke up. And women who had fought all their lives to be heard and believed and to say their story, and they gave witness to the FBI and it all got suppressed, they came and told their stories. And a strange thing happened. I had intended to motivate my colleagues, and I was brought to tears by their stories and became doubly motivated to get this done, because at that point it became more about justice for them than even before. It does. And somebody may say, well, that sounds pretty cold. You mean you weren't doing it for them to start with? Well, I was doing it to uncover the creeps, right? And the pedophiles, and the rapists, and the sex traffickers. But once I met the survivors, it became even more personal to get justice for them.
Well, of course, it's like
God bless you, man.
So then you
the fucking human thing to
petition
fucking feel right there.
And to force a vote on this. And what was the response that you got from the White House?
So I actually had at least a dozen co-sponsors on my Epstein Files Transparency Act, and I thought, well, I'll get a dozen Republican co-sponsors. I thought, well, this will be easy. I've already got a dozen who will sign the discharge petition. Well, it turns out most of those people chickened out. Would not sign the discharge petition under pressure from the president.
Unbelievable.
In fact, I ran into the legislative affairs director for the White House on the street on Independence Avenue, Jeff Freeland, just randomly, while I was trying to get more signatures and while he was trying to keep people from signing it, we just randomly met at a crosswalk. And I said, listen, I know what your job, I know you're just doing your job, and I'll be with you 90% of the time, but in this instance, I'm compelled to do this. And I said, and by the way, I made a mistake. I got co-sponsors on this bill, so now you got your whip list. I know you're going to the 12 people who originally co-sponsored it. If I ever do this again, I'm not getting co-sponsors.
He's out there getting signatures to get the Epstein list out, and motherfuckers out there literally shutting it down.
Two people working on two different things. He
creepy
to me. He said, "You're moving too fast for me."
Yeah, go get him, Thomas Massey. Go get him. Vote Thomas Massey, guys.
And
He'll save America.
And getting people to put their names on it, and getting people not to take their names off. By the way, I have to give credit to the three bravest. There's nobody. If I go back to Congress next week and somebody comes up to me and says, "I saw you on Tucker Carlson and you didn't say I was brave," I'll say, "Too bad, because you weren't."
Yeah, because you weren't, because y'all a bunch of bitches.
Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Lauren Boebert, who signed their names on that discharge petition, and all suffered. Marjorie practically gave up her political career over this.
Yes, she did.
She and her children got death threats over this.
That's insane.
Not from the left, from the right. And
she went to President.
Hey, I don't know who's in here, guys, but God bless you guys. I wish you nothing but health and happiness. I hope you guys are having a great night.
He also told
if you don't mind, double tap the screen and hit that subscribe. Rock with me. Let's learn.
She was going to
vote for this guy. Save America.
She told me the day he told her that.
Hurt whose friends?
President Trump's friends, his friends, and I suppose some of them have been hurt. Howard Lutnick was shown to be a bold-faced liar, right? And it turns out that John Paulson, one of the 3 billionaires who put money into MAGA Kentucky, was in Epstein's phone book, but also was implicated in these files as doing a fundraiser and reaching out to Jeffrey Epstein to get money from him to honor Howard Lutnick. So it's, by the way, it's just a really small world when you get into the billionaires, and they're not partisans. They're above party, right? The Epstein class, they don't associate themselves as Republicans or Democrats so much as they do among a class of billionaires who are above all of that, above the judges. They've got visa waivers. They fly private planes. They don't mingle with the public, whether it's on a plane or in a courtroom. And so anyways, that's my hat's off to Marjorie for taking on those threats. Lauren Boebert, they took her over to the Situation Room, right? Like, this is where, if they're trying to kill or capture Osama bin Laden,
Yeah, what the fuck? And
at the White House.
They pull them to the
They
side
took
like
her
this.
into the Situation Room
Like
and
this.
tried to whip her into taking her name off of the discharge petition.
Over Epstein.
Over Epstein, yep. And then the president vetoed a bill that would have brought water to a large portion of Colorado. Like,
Do you hear what the fuck he's saying?
and this isn't even, at this point, it's not just about Lauren Boebert. Why are people in Colorado deprived of water? Because their representative.
Because they're covering up
wants
for
to
a fucking
expose a sex
PDF
trafficking
file.
ring.
I mean, none of this makes any sense at all because it's a losing issue for Trump.
I don't know why I
And
said it
has
like that. I don't know what the
been-
fuck
that
I'm
was
allowed to say on here
the
anymore.
end, really, I think we're at the end of the 2024 campaign. It's just total betrayal of everything. But that began with Epstein last summer, and Trump's now famous attack on his own voters. If you think this is important to know more about Epstein, I don't want your support.
You won't have my
Why
support.
do you think Epstein,
I'm
of
out.
all issues, is the one that Donald Trump was willing to destroy his presidency over?
I don't know. I did it because it was the right thing to do.
Of course, I understand your motive, but the
Right.
president pushed back now. He's endorsed this campaign against you and your family, but really just sort of hurt himself on behalf of the memory of Jeffrey Epstein. Like, what? There's something here, no? Like, what is this?
I think he's changed some, and he's
Changed some. That's
the promise
insane.
of Donald
He's
Trump.
willing to
That is
negotiate
an
on anything,
understatement if
including
I've ever heard one.
It's like, no problem, we'll give them citizenship.
He's been
but when
bought.
it comes to Epstein, it's like, no. And it does raise questions about, like, how did Epstein die and who signed off on that? And why was Epstein rearrested, actually, for crimes he'd already been convicted of, and brought back from France to the United States, and then gets murdered in prison less than 2 months later? Like, what is that? And maybe there's a connection, or I don't know, I'm just guessing, like, what is this?
It's the people who are funding the ballroom, the people who are funding the arch, the people who are funding the rebranding of the Kennedy Center.
Pay attention.
These are the people who are also funding my opponent. These are the people who have the ear of the president. These are the people who are dominating our foreign policy decisions.
And?
They're the billionaires. And these are also the same people who are in the Epstein files, by large part where their friends are, their social
I just want to say
circles
stop, and I want everyone to just stop and rewind the tape when he said that.
That is
Maybe just
fucking
answer the question.
insane.
are. I think I did. I tried to answer the
He
question.
just named names pretty much.
Ugh, the hair on my arms just went up. Okay. So
By the way, you touched on something that I want to comment on. There are still a lot of files that haven't been released. I don't care whether it's 3 million files or whether it's 300 files that they still need to get out there. But the kind of files they haven't released, they are breaking the law by not releasing them.
God bless
you
you.
mean Department of Justice?
Department of Justice.
God
Bob
bless you.
Blanche
They
now.
need to be held accountable. Somebody needs
By
to be
the way,
held
could
accountable for
criminally
this.
Prosecuted by the next
It's
attorney.
disgusting.
This is the great thing about passing a law instead of issuing a subpoena. They didn't do this in Watergate. They didn't do this in Iran-Contra. They had commissions, they had committees, they had subpoenas, whether it was, Bill Clinton's issue. This is the first time, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, where a member of Congress or members of Congress got a law passed in the House and the Senate, signed by the president to compel the release of documents. What does that mean? Why is it different? Because every subpoena from Congress expires at the end of Congress. This law never expires. This
Never.
law, unless they can get a House and a Senate and a president to repeal it, is in effect for infinity. 50 years from now, if there's an attorney general who's like cleaning out a drawer and finds some Epstein files, they have 30 days to release them. It's
Amazing. I love that
We
law.
didn't name Pam Bondi. We said the Attorney General of the
Yeah,
United
they
States.
didn't name her.
As long as there is an Attorney General of the United States, that cabinet position may go away before the Epstein Files Transparency Act goes away. Because it's
Vote
forever.
Thomas Massey.
But let me tell you the category of documents that will eventually be released that haven't been released that you touched on. We said in the Epstein Files Transparency Act that you have to, the DOJ, FBI, and U.S. attorneys have to release internal memos and emails about decisions on whether to prosecute or not prosecute, about decisions on whether to investigate or not investigate. And right now, the Attorney General is claiming something called deliberative process privilege.
That's Todd Blanche. Bitch ass, I hate that
Freedom of
motherfucker.
Information Act.
He's going to be held
for getting
accountable.
out or to redact them.
You'll
They
see.
say
Todd
that,
Blaine's going to
and
go to
it's a
jail for this.
long-standing rule for Freedom of Information Act that the government only has to give you the final work product. They don't have to show you their math, the internal deliberations of a policy. They just have to give you the end point. But anticipating this and having served on the Judiciary Committee for a long time and having had Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray tell me, well, that's the subject of an ongoing investigation and we don't have to give you that, or that's deliberative process and we don't have to give you that. Anticipating that, I put into law that they have to give me that. And the
Nice.
president signed that law. And yet they are asserting that
God
my law
bless you.
doesn't apply to their deliberative process privilege, and they're wrong. It won't withstand 30 minutes in a courtroom. Their legal thesis, every first-year law student knows that new laws overwrite the ones that existed before. And so I think
God bless you,
eventually
Thomas
there
Massey.
will be a forum. Some survivor will sue the Attorney General or the government for not releasing those particular files, and it'll get adjudicated, and we'll get more files. Because
Do you ever ask anyone in the administration or the Congress, like, why is this a hard thing for a Republican administration that was elected to, quote, drain the swamp to do? Why would it be hard? You would think, since most people identified in the Epstein files were partisan Democrats and donors to the Democratic Party, it'd be pretty easy for Republicans to be like, yeah, the other guys did this. And there were some Republicans, but not really. It's mostly Democrats in those files. So why is it so hard? Like, what the hell are we, what is this?
Well, Pam Bondi, when I cross-examined her in a hearing while she was still Attorney General about the Epstein files, she protested to me that, this also went on under the Biden administration. And I said, of course it did. And
Right,
and it went
it
on
did.
under the Obama administration.
Of course
and the
it
Bush
did.
administration.
Of course
Like
it did.
spanned 4 administrations.
What the fuck?
5 administrations, counting Trump twice. And I told her, you're just
The most
responsible
disgusting
for this portion
shit
of the cover-up.
we've ever seen
So the reason
in the
I
fucking
think they don't
planet.
want to admit
Oh my
that they
God.
have covered this up
Gross.
is then they admit that there are 2 tiers of justice in this country, and
Yes.
that every administration, at least every attorney general, has been in on it.
That is exactly right. There are 2 tiers of justice, and some people seem to be immune from law, and some people are just henpecked to death by the law.
And that's why I want to know their decision process, because then we'll find out in 2008 why did they give Jeffrey Epstein a light sentence when they had him dead to rights to lock him
You
up.
think we will find out?
I think eventually, because the law goes forever, and I think just by random selection we'll eventually end up with an attorney general if they don't delete the files before that attorney general sits in the seat, whoever that may be.
Do you have any sense of how much hasn't been released from that case?
Well, I know that set of particular files haven't been released. I know that they put some files up and took them back down, and they've not put them back up again. And you may say, well, didn't people get archives of those files while they were up? Why do you care that the files haven't been put up again?
Yes.
It's because
Oh, this
I
thing
have the
goes
ability
on
to go
forever.
look at
I'm gonna come
unredacted
back
files
tomorrow and
over
finish this
at
shit
the
the fuck off. I
DOJ.
gotta get the fuck off because
And
I gotta
some
wake
of
up
the
for
files
work
that I
early
wanted
as
to
fuck
look
in the
at
morning.
unredacted
Got
because
one
I believe
person
they
here. Hit that
implicate
like and subscribe.
co-conspirators with Jeffrey
Matter of fact,
Epstein
hang out with me for one
haven't
second. I
been
gotta
put back up onto the public site
scroll
nor the
the
private
Violet
site.
base
I
set.
can't go
See if I
look
can
at
post something on live
documents
before I get the fuck out of here.
that may
Hey,
contain
welcome in,
the
other
names
guy.
of co-conspirators.
Hope you guys are having a great
Until we
night.
put those files
Stay
away.
blessed.
Justification
I
for
wish you
protecting
nothing
the
but
co-conspirators.
health and happiness.
Well,
Nothing
they
in
said
here.
they're
No big deal.
protecting,
Guys have a great night.
victims.
Love you guys.
Okay.
Hit that
But if
subscribe,
you're
by the way.
protecting victims and